I will call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll have roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. I will make a motion to add the resolution that's at your place, the resolution authorizing MnDOT permit as item B under ordinances and resolutions. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Citizens' comments. If anyone would like to talk to us, would be a good time right now. Okay, we have no public hearing tonight. We have reading and approval of minutes from November 13.
I'll move to approve the minutes for November 13th.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. We have the same condensed version.
I'll move approval of the condensed version.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. We have the November 14th canvassing meeting minutes.
I'll move approval of the November 14 canvassing meeting minutes.
I'll second that. Note the time, perfect time for a meeting, 1 minute. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. We have the consent agenda consisting of the audit of city bills and the revenue and expenditure report for October. I will move approval of the consent agenda.
I will second.
Any discussion or questions on any of the items on the consent agenda? And hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Ordinances and resolutions. We have a resolution adopting assessment for current services for mowing. This for the whole year? Pretty much?
For all the times we would have for that property for the year probably.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It was 2 invoices, so whether it was the only 2 times or not, I don't know.
Okay.
I'll move approval of the resolution adopting assessments for current services.
Any discussion? We'll have roll call on this resolution, please.
Councilmember Solly?
Yes.
Waller?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Pelletier?
Yes.
Mayor Gee?
Yes. We have a resolution authorizing entering in a MnDOT limited use permit.
Yeah, what this is a permit that allows us to maintain and have crossings on Trunk Highway 59. There's 2 of them. I put in the maps there. One's off of Green River Road for the bike path that goes underneath and along the edge of the Trunk Highway, and the other one's where it crosses down further by the assisted living place. So it's been there for quite a while, and this is just a renewal of the permit that allows us to keep it there. Yeah.
I'll move on the resolution authorizing entry into MnDOT limited use permit number 7506000E.
I'll second.
How long is this permit good for? Is it just a year?
You know, I don't remember ever doing this one, but.
I don't
it
remember
could-
that either.
I know one of the things that's happening with all the state agencies is they're tightening up their paperwork. They've been doing that with a lot of stuff. We saw a lot of that in the aviation side. So it could be that somebody just caught that this needed to be updated.
Oh, so MinDOT came to us and said, hey, you
They
gotta
just
do
sent it
this?
out. Yeah, we didn't even, they
Okay.
just sent it out. Actually, I've had it for a little while and didn't realize I even had it, but, I didn't bring it with, so
Okay.
I couldn't tell you how long it is.
Any other discussion? We'll have roll call vote on this resolution, please.
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Gullikson? Yes. Wallers?
Yes.
Talby?
Yes.
Mayor Heath?
Yes. City manager report.
I'll start off by, I sent an email out to the council to let you know that our chief of police will be retiring. I received his letter announcing that he is going to retire as of December 28th. That'll be his last day. He said this morning that, how many years is it?
No, not that I'm counting, but it'll be 33 years,
Thir-
9 months, and 2 weeks on 12th of December.
And he said he has to work Christmas Day. So the last year of his service, he's got to work Christmas Day because we're shorthanded. But unless things work out here in the next few weeks, but you know, that's always a tough time when you wind up seeing people decide to leave. But at the same time, it's an exciting time. We talked about it a little bit this morning, and I think everybody strives to get to that point where you can retire and enjoy the rest of your life. And I know he's got some plans to do some things that he wants to take care of, and we appreciate all the time that he spent here. Actually, I started not too long after you started, I think. Originally, what year did you start?
I started March of '85. I thought you were.
Oh yeah, so I was right around the time that I started Ross came. So I've known Ross, you know, pretty much all my working life, and you know, we'll hate to see him go, but at the same time, we'll be glad to see him enjoy a retirement that he earned for all the years that he put in. The next step for us would be to convene the Civil Service Commission and talk about the process for trying to find a new chief of police for the city of Morris. And I've reached out to them already to try to set up a meeting with them, and we'll do that. Actually, we're just finishing up the process of hiring a sergeant, so that should take place in the next couple weeks to bring somebody on board that actually has some experience. So I feel pretty good about that selection that was made. But like I said, wish them all the best. And the next month will go by really quick.
I'm not moving counter on
He'll still be here. A couple other things in here. I just put a note at the beginning of my manager's report that we did not, and we're not responsible for taking down trees out by Community Park. That was a project that's being done by West Central Research and Outreach on their LCCMR grant that's taking place, and I didn't realize they were going to get started on that, but somebody mentioned that they had got a call about some trees being taken down and was wondering what's going on. Gave you some information about the updates on our computer project for the city council and the council chamber. So we actually did order equipment now, and when that comes in, we'll get it all set up and learn how to use it, and then we'll actually have the IT people set up email addresses for you to be able to use secured email addresses where we can send you stuff on iPads, and we'll start that process of using that technology, plus having one of the things I indicated in here, they're actually going to smart television screens, monitors versus big smart boards, and I thought that was a good recommendation that they made, and so we'll get a chance to utilize that technology. We're going to have some presentations tonight for the Morris Model meeting after this meeting, And it's just this matter of just turning it on and hooking up the computer to it, and you're ready to go. So I think that'll work out really well for us. We do have the Morris Model meeting afterwards, so we're gonna have some pizza brought in and get a chance to sit down and hear some presentations and learn a little bit about the retreat that took place up at Camp Ripley. Finishing the budget, so I'll be ready to present that to the council on the 11th. And a couple other items. I went to the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities meeting, and one of the things I didn't realize, even though I'm very interested in elections and politics and things like that, but they gave a presentation on the House in Minnesota is now democratically controlled, but it's controlled by Democrats in the metropolitan area. So there's very little changeover of House seats in rural Minnesota. I think there was one that changed over. Otherwise, the entire change took place in the metro area. But there was a really good feeling about the metro area wanting to make sure that they take care of greater Minnesota. One of the big issues for us is local government aid. You know, there's other issues like transportation funding for roads and transit and all those kind of things that take place. But we'll see what happens. I think one of the bright lights is Paul Marquardt, a Democrat from Dilworth, is probably going to be the tax chair. So we get rid of Mr. Drazkowski, who was the House tax chair that hated local government aid and would get rid of it as soon as he could if it was totally up to him. And now you're going to get somebody that's been around these kind of topics for a long time, and he's very well respected. And I think that's who's going to wind up being the tax chair. So it's going to be an interesting legislative session. We'll see what happens, but you know, it's a budget year, so we're hoping that they put more money into local government aid for the city. And then I mentioned the fire truck's probably going to be here in February. So sometime in January we'll do some work to sell a certificate of debt to pay for it. And I mentioned before that the German exchange program got picked up for another 2 years by the German government. And I mentioned in here that the exchange, they're going to flip-flop when the exchanges are made. So this year the Germans are going to come early, and they're going to get a chance to be around Minnesota when it's not fall harvest time, and I think that's going to be kind of fun for them to get a chance to see lake country in the summertime and stuff like that. So that's all I have for now.
When the time gets closer to having all the equipment for the IT equipment stuff, the iPads and stuff, I think we should set up a work session to just go over those and
Yep, we
have a
can do
training
that.
session. And if you could have the IT guys go, you know, however it works out.
Yep, we can do that.
Work out wonderful.
Have them come and meet with you.
Well, you indicated in here on in your budget updates that there's going to be a need to hire additional help for the train-up period for the plant. Do you have any idea how many positions you're looking at, or
One.
just one?
There'll be one. And I'll come back to you in December on that, because we really need to try to, I talked a little bit with Jim this morning about it, we need to get that hire made before we actually do the train up on the plant, you know, so that they're dialed into it. But we talked a little bit about it at the work session about splitting maybe some of that funding with the stormwater administration funding, you know, because there's things that need to be done there too. But that's what we're looking at right now. And we still, I took your advice the last time we met and talked about the water plant, and Deb and I talked a little bit more about the rate structure and when to implement the rate. I'm thinking that maybe we'll hold off on implementing that rate, but at the same time, it's like opening a business. There's a lot of money that you have to pay out to get ready for it to start running. And in our case, we're going to have to buy chemical, we're going to have to hire a person and stuff like that. But we'll take a look at that when we look at the actual rate and when the rate will be implemented. It's easier for people to understand once they get soft water that now they're paying for it because
Right.
the rate's going to go up.
Thank you for
Yeah,
that.
so I'll present that information to you at the December budget meeting, and we can talk about it a little bit more.
Does the new water treatment plant, does that use as much chemical as the current one, or is it, that has nothing to do with it? Is it just the soft water?
So it uses a lot more. So we have to add about $400,000 of chemical cost into the operation of the plant. And the current cost of operating, the overall increase in the cost of the plant is about $515,000 a year. So we're more than doubling the cost of running the plant, because it's going to use lime to soften the water. So there's a big cost in buying the lime and using it and then disposing of it. But yeah, it's a bigger plant and it takes more to run it. Any other questions? And I'll just make a quick note. This is the first time I think we had to tweak the schedule for the agenda, because we have to have an action by the EDA before we have an action by the city council. So that's why the agenda is a little bit screwed up. So we'll finish the council meeting, start the EDA meeting, and then we got to come back and finish the council meeting.
So instead of adjournment, should this be recess?
We could do just recess it and then bring it back.
Yeah.
Because we got to call the EDA
Because
meeting.
adjourn kind of means
It
done.
all has to do with tax increment financing, the rules and regulations on what we need to do for actions.
Okay, any questions on the city manager report? We have informational items, the Morris Police Department incident reports, water treatment plant construction progress report. I wish I understood all this. I mean, it's pretty technical, but I can
If
drive.
you ever want to stop out there, Morgan Salo is the on-site engineer, and there's a little trailer out there that the engineer has. You can always stop in there and talk to him, or let me know.
I guess it's not muddy now. Earlier it was pretty muddy. See, we have the coalition priorities for 2019, and any other business to come before the council at this time. Okay, I will.
Just 1 second.
Yeah.
We're gonna come back.
Yeah, we're going to come back.
I can talk about it later.
Okay, unless. We're going to come back for the TIF deal. If there's any other business, we can
Well-
either take it now or then. It doesn't matter.
I just got a call regarding senior housing. Local constituent called and just indicated that just expressed her concern that there's a gap in some of the senior housing with regards to handicapped accessible apartments and things. And I know it's not directly our responsibility to go out, but just thought I'd throw it out there, in case anybody has, we field calls and people calling prospective investors or whatever, and developers. There's a waiting list for the one particular type of apartment she wants to get into in year and a half, and handicapped accessibility with rails and showers and things. It seems to be a need there, not for the seniors that are not ready for assisted living type places. So,
Right.
that's where I would first throw it out there for what it's worth.
That was interesting, Kevin. Actually, at the it might have been the Fallen to Health luncheon, I sat with some senior citizens, and they brought that exact same thing up. And after that, I thought about it, and I contacted East Point Village to see what their breakdown was of ages, but I haven't got a response to that yet. So that's unfortunate that I don't know that answer. But I did point out to them that at least one apartment building in town over on the west side has 5 vacancies, and they're all handicap accessible. They're ready to go, but they're 1 bedroom, and that was the problem. So,
Two-bedroom,
yeah, because most people want two-bedroom for whatever reasons they want two-bedroom, but,
Well, she brought up a couple of other things, really, when you get people that are leaving Morris to move up to Alec, and, we just as soon keep our working force, they work in Morris, well, in a lot of cases, their whole life here, and then when they end up retiring, they have to move somewhere else, because they can't find the type of housing they're looking for. I guess that's, it's a little bit concerning. You just keep them here, so.
yeah, and one other thing, at the West Central Initiative meeting that I was at last couple of weeks ago, we had a presentation by Ben Winchester, and I remember Ben from the university days, and he kind of promoted that our, not necessarily our, but the concept of that we're short on housing isn't necessarily, or may not necessarily be true. It's just that we're not in the right spot. Seniors are staying in their homes longer, and they really should be moving on into smaller apartments, assisted living, the steps where when they move, that house is available for the workforce, And I thought about that, and that's very, very true. As the seniors get older, there may be an excess of available housing, actually. So it'll be an interesting concept, anyway.
And some of our neighboring communities where people are moving into Morse are building on or looking at building. I talked to somebody this morning in a smaller community just out of our community, a short distance, that's looking at building a exact type of facility next to a school that's not being fully utilized, that they can use the kitchen, the school building. I work in Starbuck. They've just added on behind the old hospital there. They've doubled the size of their care facility that's able to provide some assisted living, but yet you can live on your own. So, a lot of the smaller communities where people are coming into Morris are looking to try to keep their people in their communities also. So as we're losing some to Alec, we're also taking some from the small communities around us also. So.
It's always something to keep in mind, though, for sure.
Yeah, if we
With
can
key
talk to the
developers.
facilities that we have, and if they're aware that we have demand for that, if they're looking at building up on additional facilities on the hill there, that they are aware of that.
Yeah, you bet. Great.
That's all I have, thank you.
Anything else? I will recess the meeting and turn it over to our president.
I will call our EDA meeting to order. Yeah, roll call, please.
Commissioner Waller?
Yes.
Selby?
Yes.
Gullikson?
Yes.
Keith?
Yes.
President Miller?
Yes, thank you. Reading and approval of our 10:23 minutes.
I move approval of our 10:23 minutes.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of approval?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Ordinances, resolutions. A resolution recommending the decertification of the tax increment financing district number 12, super value, and returning of excess unused tax increments. Wayne, you want to highlight?
Yeah, so it's, as I said, when you do tax increment financing, it involves both the EDA and the city council, and that's why we wind up having to do this. That district, I provided you a memo on it, that district was created really to facilitate the building of Willie's super value. There was a number of different properties that were on that block that wound up being acquired and removed so that property could be built. And actually, in the original TIF agreement, the old building was part of the TIF district too. And we all know that there was a medical center went into it, and it was a good repurposing of that building. That property actually has already been taken out of the TIF district because there wasn't anything else being done with it, so it was removed a while ago. So the only property that's left is the property that Willie's is on right now. And what this resolution does is it says that that district's done. You know, and so now that property needs to go back on the tax rolls, and taxes will go against all the other things that happen in the city, county, and school district, and those taxes will be used for it. The other thing it says is if there's any leftover increments that aren't going to be used, then they have to go back to the county. And so there's the resolution that the city council will take up that talks about, the EDA is basically saying, yeah, let's go ahead and do this. The council will say, okay, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna pay back the increments, and there's about almost $18,000 left over in that district, and what happens is we send the check back to the county auditor, and that money will get redistributed to the city, county, and school. So we'll actually get a portion of that back, and then we can turn around and use that for general fund purposes and doing other things. So it's the moment in time where that tax increment financing now goes, you reap the benefit of all that was done with that property. So it's a major building that's gonna come back on the tax rolls.
How many years do you have a rough idea that we've been doing the TIF on this property? I thought it read in there, 1998, thank you.
1998, yeah. That's
I'm just curious, I've seen that
I just
too.
looked through, I couldn't find it, but yeah, just,
So 20 and a half years about, I wonder what the initial, when it was done in 98, what the initial period was planned for. If that was planned for a 25 year.
typically they're 25-year,
I don't think it was
But it-
25, I think it was supposed to be done next year.
Really?
It's done a little early.
Cool.
good.
How do you determine the excess unused tax? Where does that come from?
there's a separate fund that all
I mean,
that.
how do you get that? How do you determine that it's 17,000
Well, the note itself paid out, I think it was 90%, 90 or 95% back to the property owner as part of the TIF. So that 5% stays in the fund that we can use towards administrative costs, whatever, which we never did. Pretty minimal cost that we have associated with that. And then the last tax payment, the last half of the year, what we received in November, and that was about $14,000 of this, but we already paid them off, so.
So is there normally excess in an increment when you get done with it?
The
I mean,
few
there's
that
always
I've
gonna be.
said, yes, I know.
Yeah, I think typically there is. It depends. You know, they try to do the best guess that they can when they're estimating them, but in some cases they don't use it all because they didn't have enough expenses to use it all. In some cases, taxes change. You know, tax rates go up. Taxes are shifted. There's just a lot of different things that could happen. Actually, I have the decertification form filled out already so that we can send it in send it to the county. And the required decertification date for this district was 12/31/2024. You know, so
So it was 20.
so it was 25 years based upon when the first increment was going to come in. So it's actually decertifying early because it didn't need all that time, didn't need all that money, and you know, so it's good for everybody.
And so I'm still working on the excess here. Does shoot, I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, does it always go back to the 3 entities?
Yes.
So, like when this last one that we just approved, if there's excess in there, it will go back to all 3 entities?
Yes.
Yeah, I would expect that there would almost always be some sort of excess at the end, obviously, because it's not going to be right on. But I think the main thing is because tax rates go up a little bit here and there, so they end up paying off their TIF expenses faster than what was estimated. That's why it's early. So I suppose realistically, they all should be a little bit early.
Probably, yeah.
Or something like that, yeah.
Typically what happens, and you look at Super Value, and they've made improvements beyond what they originally did when they built that building. So any of those improvements, you know, are going to generate more increment, and it's just going to speed up the process of paying everything off.
Right. Cool.
Could you ever take the excess that we have and put into that we would get back and put into a fund that would help other people, property owners, or, I mean, for rehabbing or anything like that? It has to go right back into.
The only thing, well, and one of Deb mentioned, we actually, typically you'll use 90% of the increment, you know, to pay off the debts of the business and stuff like that, and 10% is kept for administration. Legally, what we have to do, some cities do it, I know they do. Legally, what we have to do is we have to show justification for why we would take it for administration. Well, once you have these things created, you know, there's really nothing really involved. You get a check, you put it in the bank. I do have to do reports. Probably takes me about a day to do all the reports for all the TIF districts. In some cases, like right now, actually, I'm tracking some time that I'm spending because with the elementary school property, they built an apartment building. They'd like to expand it. With the Legacy Living, assisted living facility, they're looking at building a memory care unit, and actually at the next council meeting, we're probably going to be bringing you another project that they want to do. They want to build an Alzheimer unit behind Legacy Living, which is a need, I think, that we have in the community. But right now, you know, they're looking at what are the needs, what are the increments that might be generated with it, and you know, it just, you know, we could give them 100% of the tax increment, but normally you don't get that, you know, as a business, and in some cases it's less than that. Actually, with the elementary school property, we actually kept a little bit of that increment, and we can use that to pay off the debt. So it's in there. One of the uses of increment is paying off debt to the district. So that 10%, if we're not going to use it, we can use it to pay off debt in the district, and that's what we've been doing. There are districts that have excess increment coming in, that all the obligations have been paid, and we're taking those and we're moving them into the elementary school property fund and using them to pay off the debt. So the Skyview Plaza district and the senior, what is it, senior option?
Service option.
Service option for seniors district down by the fire hall. We're allowed to take that money off of them and use it to pay a debt in another district. So that's one of the things that we are doing. So in that case, we didn't close either one of those down. We didn't send back excess increment. We're using it to pay down the debt of tearing down the elementary school. So it's all based upon laws and rules and stuff, and that's why we have TIF consultants putting together stuff for us, because it's really, really complicated.
So this district wasn't really done until 4 years from now or something like that. We could have retained this and did something else with it, maybe if it followed all the rules.
Based upon how this one was done, I don't think we're allowed to take it and use it anywhere else.
Okay,
From what I understand, talking to Nick from Ellers.
sure. Which is fine
The
with
other
me.
two we could.
You know, so we're seeing, very interesting, this year, we developed a TIF district for this new apartment building. We were on the front end, we're on the back end. Now, next year and going forward, all the taxes from this property is gonna go into the coffers and realistically lower everybody else's tax burden. So it's kind of neat to have both that in the same year.
All right, good discussion, interesting, a lot of different things. We have a resolution before us.
I will move on that resolution, recommending the decertification of district with number 12, super value and the returning of the excess unused tax increments.
I will second that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? I have a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Wallers?
Yes.
Selby?
Yes.
Tillotson?
Yes.
Keys?
Yes.
President Miller?
Yes. Thank you. Let's see. Any other business before us? Anything else, anyone?
When you were talking about legacy living, who owns that property that the pond is on for mowing? Who's mowing that little piece? There's a little piece in between.
East Point Village, the apartment building owner owns it.
Okay, that got pretty long.
Yeah.
Okay. I noticed everybody around it was mowing except for that piece right there.
Yeah, they wanted to control it so it would look nice.
So do they get after so many, like all these other people? I mean, right up to the sidewalk, it was long. I'm not talking
Yeah,
about the pond, I'm talking
we've
about.
talked to them about it. Stormwater, you know, and that's actually one of the things that we're gonna be looking at is, now we've inventoried all the stormwater infrastructure in the city, including all the ponds and stuff, and now we're gonna have to supervise them, you know, to make sure that they're all taken care of and stuff like that. So that will be part of the process of doing inspections and you know, making sure that they're taking care of them.
So there was no fine for them for not mowing and keeping it under so many inches?
Well, it's,
Cause I know, I mean, around the pond at the high school, that's always mowed.
yeah,
I've just
Yeah.
noticed because I've.
Yeah, I
walked
know
around
what you're-
there.
yeah.
And so,
yeah,
Just wondering
we've been,
why.
we've been trying to get them to keep that main, it's a little bit harder to go in and mow the way they have it set up. You know, and if you look at some of the stormwater ponds and how they're set up, like out by, Heartland Motors, that one's a little bit different, and they actually talked to us a little bit about that, you know, spraying some chemicals along there to try to keep some of the weeds and stuff down, and the school's one of them, but, you know, I talked to the superintendent at the school, because they're starting to let trees grow up again. You know, the city went in and helped them get rid of all the trees that were just starting to grow along the edges, and now it's starting up again, and, you know, you don't want that to happen, because you'll be going in and taking them down later, or even like with the cattails and things like that. The purpose of that pond is to hold water, not to hold vegetation and all those kind of things. But, yeah, so they should be doing what everybody else is doing.
I think we have some time before we should have grass or weeds growing in the ponds here, so.
Hopefully.
All right, no further business for our EDA. I will adjourn.
I will reconvene the council meeting to act on the resolution. We have a resolution for decertifying the same District 12.
I will move the decertification of tax increment financing District 12 super value.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? We'll have roll call vote on this, please.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Littleton,
yes.
Waller,
Yes.
Salvi,
Yes.
Mayor Gee.
Yes. Okay, I guess I noticed that our second meeting in December is going to be the Wednesday, the 26th.
If that's
I
what you
guess,
want to do.
I guess did we vote on that, or did we?
No, I think
That's just the way we
Put it
do it?
on there,
she put it on there so we wouldn't forget about it.
You didn't figure we would do it on the 24th,
by the 25th.
Well, yeah,
and not the 25th either, for that
I
matter?
said, we'll just do it the next week, and it's like, well, no, that's the New Year's,
There is no next, yeah.
you know, and you move in there, so.
So,
There is no next
do we
week?
need a motion on that?
Yeah, we should have a motion to set the date for
Is
that meeting.
everybody okay with that?
I'm fine with it.
Yeah. What day is it? I'm sorry.
Wednesday,
Wednesday, the 26th.
Day after Christmas.
Should be okay.
Yeah.
Santa can drop you off for it.
I think.
I might still be riding with Santa. I might be a little late, but
That's all right. There's a chimney in this place. So.
yeah. I'll get my red nose if I.
So I
To come by.
I will make a motion that our second meeting in December will be Wednesday, the 26th, same place, same time.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Remember, we have Morris Model meeting directly following this meeting. Anything else to come before the council? Meeting adjourned.